Ever woken up from like a crazy dream? Heart's going,
Yeah.
and you're not sure if it was real or not.
Yeah.
That feeling,
Yep.
where the line between what's real and what isn't gets all blurry.
Right.
That's kind of what we're looking at today.
Yeah. What's really interesting about this case is how perception can be like so messed with,
Oh, yeah,
especially when the stakes are high.
absolutely.
This is the Renard Spivey case. So he's a sheriff's deputy, and he was accused of murdering his wife, Patricia.
And we've got so much to go through.
Mm.
We have court transcripts and witness testimonies and all the news reports.
Yeah.
It's almost like walking into a dark room and trying to put together what happened based
Yeah.
on a few clues.
Yeah, and that's what makes this so interesting, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just the facts. It's
Yeah.
like we're inviting the listener to check out the evidence with us.
Yeah.
Try to figure out the truth.
Exactly.
Was it made up?
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting.
So let's set the stage.
Okay.
July 28th, 2019.
Right.
Hot summer night in Houston. Quiet suburban home. Gunshots ring out.
Oh, wow.
First responders show up. It's chaotic.
Yeah.
Patricia Spivey is dead. Multiple gunshot wounds. She's found in a closet.
Oh, my gosh.
Renard, her husband, he's got a bullet wound in his leg.
Okay.
Initially, he says it was a tragic accident. They were struggling.
Right.
But like a lot of cases that make the news, there's more to the story.
For sure.
One of the first things that stood out was Renard's 911 call.
Right.
You heard it right.
Yeah, I have.
What'd you think? I mean, he's a law enforcement officer. He deals with crazy situations all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a hesitation in his voice.
It's true. There's a delay before he admits that he shot his wife.
Right.
It's almost like an afterthought. And the way he's talking, it just doesn't sound like what you'd expect from someone in a traumatic situation.
Right. It's odd.
Very odd.
And then his story about what happened changes.
Yeah.
First, he says they were struggling over the gun.
Hmm.
Then he's saying it was self-defense.
Oh, wow.
For the prosecution, those inconsistencies were a big deal.
Oh, yeah, they really were. When a witness's story changes, especially someone that close to the situation,
Right.
it's a red flag.
Yeah.
It makes you think, are they hiding something? Or maybe their memory's not so good because of the trauma,
Right.
you know?
So let's talk about the gun.
Okay.
It was a Smith & Wesson, semi-automatic,
Hmm.
no external safety.
Mm-hmm.
The defense really focused on how easily that type of gun could go off,
Right.
especially during a struggle.
Especially during a struggle. Yeah. And that was a key part of their argument. It was
Yeah.
an accident.
Yeah.
It went off a bunch of times,
Unintentionally.
unintentionally,
Yeah.
while they were fighting.
But the prosecution wasn't convinced.
No.
They were saying one shot, maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
That could be an accident.
Sure.
But 3 shots, maybe 4.
Yeah.
That sounds like someone meant to do it.
Right. That fourth shot, that's what the prosecution was focused on.
Yeah.
They thought Renard shot himself in the leg.
Right. To back up his self-defense story.
Exactly. And they said there's a sound on the home's security system.
Yeah. It's different from the 3 gunshots that killed Patricia.
Right. And they said that's the fourth shot.
Right.
Mm.
But the defense had a response for that.
Oh, of course.
They said that sound isn't a gunshot at all.
What is it then?
It's just the camera clicking.
Oh.
And they had an expert show how that specific gun
Mm-hmm.
could go off multiple times without meaning to,
Right.
especially if 2 people are fighting over it.
Yeah. Especially if they're fighting over it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And they also pointed out there was no DNA testing on the trigger.
Right.
So there's no way to tell for sure who pulled the trigger.
And then there's where Patricia's body was found.
Okay.
Renard said they were struggling into the closet door,
Mm-hmm.
but her body was further back in the closet.
Oh.
That raised some questions.
It did, for sure.
The prosecution thought maybe he trapped her in the closet,
Yeah.
turned an everyday space into a death trap.
Wow. That's a scary thought.
But obviously the defense had a counter-argument.
Yeah. What did they say?
They said that makes sense. If they were fighting,
Yeah.
the location of her body could be from them moving around,
Okay. I guess that's possible.
falling in the small space.
Right. So is it a clue or just a coincidence?
Exactly. And then there's what Patricia was doing online that night.
Okay. What was she doing?
Just hours before the shooting, she posted on Facebook,
Oh, wow.
talking about actions speaking louder than words.
Interesting.
And her daughter said Patricia kept saying, it's the same thing,
Mm.
right before everything happened.
Oh, my gosh. What do you think that means?
Makes you wonder what she was thinking.
Yeah. Was she afraid? Was she frustrated? Was there something going on that we don't know about?
It's creepy.
It really is.
And speaking of creepy things,
Oh, no.
when Renard was giving Patricia CPR,
Mm-hmm.
he stopped doing chest compressions,
Yeah.
but he didn't tell the 911 operator.
Why would he do that?
The prosecution thought that was suspicious.
I can see why they would.
Like he didn't really care,
Mm-hmm.
that he was just trying to make his self-defense story sound better. But the defense said no. He was just trying to unlock the garage door
Oh,
for the paramedic.
so they're saying it was a practical thing, not
Right.
something sinister.
Exactly. Same action, two totally different ways to see it.
Yeah, that's where context matters so much. What looks suspicious to one person
Right.
could be totally innocent to another.
We've got different stories, evidence that could mean anything, and so many questions.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
And we haven't even talked about what the witnesses said.
Oh, right. The witnesses. This is where things get really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of different stories and emotions running high. It's going to be a wild ride.
It is. Let's get into it.
Mm-hmm.
But before we do, if you're liking this deep dive,
Yeah,
make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this case,
definitely.
because we've got lots more to cover.
Sounds good. I can't wait.
All right. So let's dive into what the witnesses had to say,
Okay.
because this is where things get really crazy.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting, right?
Oh, yeah. It's a whole mess of relationships and memories.
Yeah.
And accusations flying everywhere.
Witness testimony is always a tough one.
Oh, for sure.
People remember things differently, emotions are high, and sometimes their own opinions get mixed up in what they saw.
Right.
And in this case, those testimonies really changed how the story was told.
Okay. So let's start with Ezra Washington.
Okay.
He was a good friend of Patricia's,
Mm-hmm.
and his testimony was a total bombshell.
Oh, wow. What did he say?
He said Renard told him all kinds of things
Like what?
about using steroids and having problems in his marriage,
Okay.
even that he threatened Patricia.
Oh, my God.
This was huge for the prosecution.
Yeah, I bet.
It gave them a possible motive,
Right.
and it made Renard look really bad.
Definitely.
Ezra said that just 2 days before the shooting, Patricia told him she was done,
Mm.
that she was leaving Renard.
Wow.
And he even said that Renard said something about Patricia not getting the house.
Oh, no.
If you look at when those conversations happen,
Yeah.
it really helps the prosecution's case.
Right.
Here's this guy. He's losing his wife.
Mm-hmm.
He's losing his home.
Right.
Maybe losing everything.
Yeah. That could make someone do something drastic.
Right. But there's a problem.
Oh, what's
A
that?
big problem.
Uh-oh.
They couldn't find any phone records
What?
to prove those conversations with Renard happened.
Oh, no.
The defense jumped all over that.
Of course they did.
They said, without those records,
Mm-hmm.
Ezra's testimony is just hearsay.
Right.
Maybe he made up those conversations.
Yeah.
Or exaggerated them.
To make his friend look good.
Exactly. To help Patricia, because she couldn't speak for herself anymore.
Yeah, that's tough.
And Renard said those conversations with Ezra never happened.
So it's his word against Ezra's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the jury had to decide who they believed.
That's a lot of pressure.
It is. Then you have Patricia's daughter, Patrina Marshall.
Okay.
She took the stand too.
I can't imagine how difficult that must have been.
It was emotional.
Yeah.
Her words were very personal. She said her mom wanted to leave the marriage.
So she's contradicting what the defense is saying.
Right. They were trying to make it seem like Patricia was the aggressor.
Oh, wow.
Patrina talked about the arguments,
Yeah.
Renard's steroid use,
Mm-hmm.
and how her mom and Renard weren't really affectionate anymore.
It sounds like their relationship was in trouble.
It was like a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
The prosecution used those stories,
Okay.
especially what Ezra said about the threats
Mm-hmm.
and Patricia wanting to leave,
Right.
to say that Renard planned this.
Planned to kill Patricia.
Yes, that he was angry and jealous
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to control his wife.
Wow, that's a strong argument.
But the defense said no. It was an accident.
Okay.
They said it was a fight that got out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
They reminded the jury about the gun.
No safety.
Right. And how easy it was for it to go off.
Actually, during a struggle.
Exactly. And they brought in their own expert.
To talk about the gun.
Yes. Who showed how it could fire a bunch of times without even trying.
Just by bumping it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And they pointed to the DNA again.
Or a lack of it.
Right. No one knows for sure who pulled the trigger.
Then what happened?
Renard took the stand himself.
He did.
He said he loved Patricia,
Okay.
that he never wanted to hurt her.
And what about the shooting?
He said he was scared when he saw her with a gun,
Okay.
that he was just reacting.
Trying to protect himself.
That's what he said. He wanted the jury to see him as a loving husband
Right.
who got caught up in this horrible situation.
Mm-hmm.
That it was an accident.
So two very different sides of the story.
Yes. Witnesses backing up both sides, forensic evidence, expert opinions. It's a classic legal battle.
Where the truth depends on who you ask.
It really does.
Hmm.
Emotions are running high. It's hard to separate fact from fiction.
That's why juries have such a tough job.
They do. They have to sift through all that information.
Yeah.
Decide who's telling the truth, and figure out if the prosecution proved Renard did it.
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
Exactly.
It's a huge responsibility.
It is. Someone's life is on the line.
Their reputation, too.
And no matter what they decide, someone's going to be hurting.
It's true. After 2 days, the jury reached a verdict.
And what was it?
Not guilty. You could hear a pin drop when they read that verdict.
Yeah.
Not guilty.
It must have been a huge relief for Renard's family.
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
They were so emotional.
Yeah. They've been through so much.
But for Patricia's loved ones,
Yeah.
it was devastating.
I can only imagine.
A slap in the face.
You know, it's interesting how one decision can affect people so
Now,
differently.
heartbreaking. You see, Renard, he's hugging his family. They're crying tears of joy.
Right.
And then you see Patricia's family,
Yeah.
the pain on their faces.
It shows you just how much this case meant to everyone involved.
It really does. It makes you think about how, even with a fair trial,
Right.
sometimes there's no real closure.
No, I mean, the legal system is all about evidence and proof.
Yeah.
But the human side of things,
Right.
the emotions,
That's messy.
it is. And it doesn't just disappear when the trial's over.
This case is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
The jury said not guilty.
Right.
But there's still so many unanswered questions.
Yeah. And so much pain.
Patricia's daughter, Patrina, said it best.
What did she say?
She said, "I don't believe that she received justice at all."
That's powerful. It really sums up how a lot of people feel.
It does. A lot of people think Renard got away with something.
And it's important to remember, not guilty doesn't automatically mean innocent.
Right.
It just means the prosecution couldn't prove he did it.
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
Exactly. There was always that question about who fired the gun.
And that's what saved Renard.
The defense created enough doubt to make the jury unsure.
But even though he was acquitted, that suspicion never really went away. Renard kept saying he was innocent.
Yeah.
During the trial and after.
Did he ever say anything about Patricia's family?
He said he felt bad for them,
Okay.
but that it was an accident.
A fight that went too far?
Yeah. He lost his job at the sheriff's department.
Wow.
No more TV appearances.
But he's still alive.
He is. But this case will always be with him.
People won't forget.
No. And for Patricia's family,
Yeah.
they're still grieving.
Trying to make sense of it all.
And they'll never really know what happened that night.
The legal part is over, but the emotional part.
That goes on forever.
This case really shows how complicated the justice system is. It's hard to prove something beyond a reasonable doubt.
Especially when emotions are high and the evidence is unclear.
It makes you think about what justice really means.
It does. And how we decide what's true.
This is one of those cases that sticks with you
It is. It makes you ask questions.
and keeps you thinking long after it's over.
So what do you think happened that night?
I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not sure. But I think it's important to keep talking about it.
Yeah, to learn from it.
And to remember Patricia.
That's right.
We're out of time for today. But if you want to learn more,
There's so much more to uncover.
you can read the court transcripts,
Yeah.
watch the interviews.
Make up your own mind.
The truth is out there somewhere.
Sometimes it's hard to find.
That's it for our deep dive into the Renard Spivey case.
This was a tough one.
It was. But thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
And be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating cases.
Until next time,
Keep questioning
keep learning.
and keep diving deep.